Hey everybody, it's Amy again, and we're going to go through a little process here of how to wind your shuttles, perns, stick shuttles, any kind of shuttle actually that has a bobbin or anything, but two different types, with gradated yarns, or what most of y'all have seen them as cakes. They look like little cakes, but what they do is the colors will gradate, or they'll blend or bleed together. It's just they have a beautiful gradation process. So one of the scarves here is from Painted Desert, and it's Carnival. And when I did this one, people asked me, how did you make it so smooth looking? How did it transcend that way? So with the warp, I just warped it that way. I never stopped and started, I just kept going all the way across, and whatever hit, that's what it did, because the yarn was directing that warping process. But the weaving process is basically what I'm doing. And that's important, because if you don't keep it in that same format, you're going to get pooling or different stripes that may not blend together. And so I've had a time sometimes trying to explain this. So we said we'd do a video on this. So hopefully I'll get some positive reviews on this one. If you have suggestions, please send them our way, because I'll take them. So I've tried to come up with a simple solution. So what we're going to first do is I'm using Perth yarn, and as you can see, this yarn right here is very you can see where the greens, the oranges, the yellows, it's very distinct in the color changes. I can see this one compared to this particular one. It looks monochromatic, but it's really not. This is where you need to be careful. So let's start with this one. I'm going to use these 3 stick shuttles just to mimic what I'm going to do. Granted, I would probably put way more on the shuttle than what I'm going to intend to do. So the first thing I did was this ball winder. It's just, it's on a pair of rollers, and it's actually really nice because it'll spool off. Okay, so what I've done at the beginning of this particular one, I'm gonna put a piece of tape right here that says start, okay? Start means this is the one that's gonna be what I'm gonna start weaving with, okay? So this is the end, all right? Now, I don't wanna start it on the shuttle, okay? What I'm gonna do is just put tape on it, do however you want to do it, and then what you're going to do is pull off X amount of yards or X amount of turns or whatever you want to do. Keep going, blah 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 blah. Let's say I'm going to go to about right here. Okay, it looks green, but if I actually compared it to the first part, it would have green and burgundy in it. So this particular right here is going to be A and B. Okay, and you got to make sure you don't do it this way. You need to do it A toward the side you're cutting off, okay? So what I'm going to do right here is I put it just like that. I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm going to cut right there on that line. That's what it means, okay? So B is still here, okay? A is right here. You can use this tape, which comes in pretty handy. Just put it on your shuttle, okay? A is right here. So when I wind, people do this differently. It's going to be, some people will go this way, some people are going to do a figure 8. So once you've done a figure 8, all right, so once I've gotten this one on here, which is almost there, I should have start. Should be my end results on the end of that one. All right, so I'm going through here, and it does. It looks really burgundy. I can see, at first I didn't see it, but I do see it now. So the first part is more of a burgundy and a mossy green, okay? This one says start, all right? So that shuttle's here. So this is the start, and as you can see, it looks candy cane. It's burgundy and like a mossy green. B is mainly mossy greens. That's going to match up right here to A, but it's important that these two are going to join after I start weaving, not these two, because you can see a stark difference in those. All right, so I'm back again. Once again, I've gotten one shuttle wound, and now I'm going to do the one that had B here. So I'm going to leave B, and I'm going to once again pull off what I need. Hopefully I get to a little bit of a red part right here, which will really make, if I can. Yep, it looks really red right now. I can tell that it's doing something different, most definitely. All right, so right here where I'm changing, okay, my next tape is C and D, okay, so I'm going to put C and D, all right. I'm going to use my line here. I'm going to cut. C is the one that's going to go on my belt shuttle here, all right? And then once again, I'm going to wind differently on this one. It really makes no difference. Some people do one thing. one way and the other way. And it's funny, as I'm winding this, you can actually see dark. It's very dark here, and this is light, okay? So this end right here is gonna be B, not C. Don't lose this one. So that's B, all right? And if you want to, this one can stay just like this. So I weave this shuttle. I use this as my start. When I finish this shuttle, I'll have A at the end. A goes with B, so when I peel this off, these two will actually be the correct colors that go together. So it's important to do that if you want it to blend together nicely, okay? Once again, A, and then, well, it's start, and then A, finish it, goes to B. C is down here underneath everything. So once again, then I'm back to this one. So it's really the same process. You'd peel it off. I'll do this one much shorter. Before you cut it, put your tape on it, because then you'll know, okay? Cut it. Once again, use the tape as what anchors it if you want to. That's E. And when I wind this one, and we compare these three shuttles, you're gonna see they're just totally different shuttles in terms of color. All right, so this one is D, right here. You can see D right here, very burgundy and kind of a soft green. This one, and then here. So you can see just in the small amount of yarn that I have wound, I have a gradation already. But remember, I'm starting with this one. It ends with like a green color, A. A joins to here, which is it matches perfect because that's where I cut it. When I get to the bottom of this one, I'll have C. C joins to D. And then it goes on, so E. You just have to remember the way you're spooling it off and connecting it. This does help tremendously, but I can actually see everything happening here because I want it to blend very nicely. The next yarn, Painted Desert, will be a little harder to see, and it's very important on that one. So on this scarf right here, it's Painted Desert. All right, so when I started weaving this, it actually had a green in it. So as it goes up this way, and as you can see, and I'm going to pick this path right here, it's very green, and then it turns into like a salmon color, okay, all the way up, and then it gets redder. If you did not do this in the same winding process, you could actually get a part right here that would match to here. And you can see that just this line between here and here would make a really strong line across here. So this is a way to keep it in order, and it will nicely gradate up this way. And that's what really is what gives these scarves just, it looks watercolored. It's beautiful. All right, so we're back again, and we're gonna talk about winding paper quills versus using the stick shuttles, because it is a little bit different and much faster, okay? And I'll do some winding here, but on these kind of balls, they're very flat and pancakey, and it's very hard to get a center pull out of here. If you want to, have at it. But sometimes to me, it's just easier to peel it off the outside, and that's what I'm gonna do. So before I do it, once again, this is the outside one right here. And so what I'm gonna do is I put my start. It's gonna be the same process. So start right here, okay? That's the thing I'm gonna start weaving with, okay? That's my first pick. So this gets put over here. So then I'm gonna come to my ball, and this is where you have to gauge how much you think you can wind on your either 4-inch, 5-inch, or 6-inch. I tend to use the longer ones just because I really appreciate not having to overlap as much. So I am using these. So once again, I'm gonna peel this off. I don't want to twist it or anything, because if you do, then you're going to have to struggle with it. So what I'm doing is, it's just like I'm pulling it off, almost like, yeah, it's almost like sliding it off, and it's just like a mini hank, like a skein, okay? And so when I'm going to lay it down, I don't want to ruffle it or anything. I'm just going to lay it down right here, because I have this piece right here. I'm going to put and it's important to make sure you're going in the right direction, okay? So this is A gets cut off, okay? So I'm gonna come over here, do this. That's gonna go here. If you want to, that can stay on your table. So A is the one that actually goes on the quill or the bobbin if you're using bobbin. So this one right here. So I've got a bobbin winder over here that I'm actually going to show you, and then we can do another one real quick. I'm using this on a rigid heddle. That's what I've been weaving. All this was done on a rigid heddle. Really enjoyed it. It's a very simple process. So over here I've got the shack double end. Okay, that's quite important on these. These have a little, not a lot of flex, but they work better on a double end. All right, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put A on here. All right, you can take this, lay it on the floor, or gently just move it over here and go slow. Okay, so when I'm winding this, I tend to wind all the way across and then back. So remember, A is on the inside. You're not going to see that. Okay. So you need to make sure that tape stays on the bobbins. This one should have start on it when I'm done, okay? On a quill, using these on a rigid heddle, I don't use the really fat ones just to make sure that the boat shuttle will actually go through. Some people want to wind these ahead of time just so that they have them. If you do, once again, make sure that the tape is actually on there. Okay, so this would be the first quill that I'm going to put in the boat shuttle to start my scarf. Okay, that one would have start on it. Once again, B, this is the next one. It stays here. I'm going to, like I said, peel off. That's a lot. Put my next tape. This would be CD. Remember, I'm cutting C off. It goes this way. So C is the part I'm cutting off, all right? D is the one that's gonna stay. So you can just use the line. That wasn't a great cut. This is D, okay? If you need to keep that with it, but that's D. All right, C goes on the quill. This goes on the bobbin winder. All right, so now I'm gonna wind my second one. Let me see if I can go a little bit quicker on this one. So this one is B, all right? And once again, if you looked at the difference between these, it's extremely subtle. So this is the one I'm starting with, and that's it's lighter, but it's very, very subtle, okay? This one's got a little bit more royal in it, okay? So when this one ends, this one starts, okay? And then this will end on C, and that's again, when I wind this bobbin, that's what takes place. I do want to point out that sometimes when you see painted desert, some are very, very contrasting, like the carnival. But if you actually were looking inside of these, you can see that there is some gradation in here. There's a darker part here, tweedy part here, much lighter here. And that's what we're trying to keep. We're just trying to make sure that it keeps the same, gradation of it. You might see some thick and thin, but the color also helps to keep it very much in the smooth transitions. All right, so I hope this little tidbit may help you with your yarns that are pooling or gradating like that, because it really does make a beautiful scarf if you can keep your color management in that order. And a lot of people who are trying to do something ahead of time may wind. You just need to be very organized when it comes to this, because there's nothing more frustrating to weave 10 inches and then realize that you started with the wrong end, and then you have to unweave it. So make sure that you are doing it in the correct order, and then you will be much happier, okay? And then send us some pics of the nice colorways that you've gotten when you get to weave these. Thanks.